Okay, I keep doing this. I keep making too long of videos. So I was watching Mark Passio's live weekly show. He's got live weekly shows between January to June because in his off autumn or fall and winter seasons, he does a live he does a workshop. But he was saying about how you personally are the cause of the issues, or you're perpetuating the issues by not becoming involved, not actively doing something, not choosing to speak your voice and speak your truth. And what he was talking about, really, in a grand way, reminded me of a video short that I made earlier on in the channel while I was still in Arkansas, where I was talking about the pandemic, but I was talking about how people seem to have wanted things to stop being bad, but not really doing anything to change that. Now, all I'm saying is, and what all I really wanted to say on my last recording of this video is this: you absolutely 100% need to follow 80-19-1, the principles of 80-19-1, which is 80% law of assumption, 19% human in the loop, which I'm going to make another video about that. I've already made a video, but I'm going to make another video expanding on this and making it very incredibly abundantly clear, because it's the hardest part to understand about this. And then the 1% could be however you look at it. Whatever your worldview is, it could be the result, it could be the thing that you're enjoying, it could be the person that you become, because you're just one person when it comes down to it, even if you got multiple personalities, whatever. But he was talking about this, and it reminded me of this video that I made, and I was like, oh man, I gotta make another video about this. You're here for a reason, and the reason is to make something new, original, and unique. And it doesn't have to be this. I made a lot of roundabout points in the other recording of this, but I'm going to make it very direct, and I'm going to cut out a lot of the fat this time. A perfect example is when I was in Benton, Arkansas, which is the last place I was staying at. I met this guy, and he was homeless at the time also. Well, I mean, he had some family that would allow him to stay here and there, kind of, but he had a vehicle. And I got to talking to him, and I told him what my situation was, and I told him, hey, I'm trying to get to someplace springs. He assumed I was talking about hot springs, but I came to find out there was a place called, what was it? Pine Springs? Pine Springs. Well, I didn't realize that until we were on our way back, that place existed, and that's the place I was actually trying to get to, because I forgot the name of the place, because I didn't have it in text message. I had it on a voice call. Well, I told this guy what my story was, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. This guy, he revealed to me at some point in the conversation that he played music, and I was like, oh, really? Okay. He's like, yeah, come on out to my car. And so we go out to his car. He pulls out this beat up guitar. It had scuff marks all over it, stickers, writing and drawing all over it. But this guy, we're sitting down like in the parking lot, and he starts playing this song. And actually, I believe he played two songs, but there were some structural issues with the music. Like I noticed because I was in college level music theory when I was in high school. So I know a little bit about music, and plus I come from a musical family. My father, he plays practically every instrument you can think of. Well, and also he was in a band when I was a kid, and which was awesome. I used to go their shows on the weekends when we'd have our visitation, but it's another story. But I come from a musical background. Now, I'm not good with playing an instrument, but I am pretty damn good with writing music. I'll just put it like that. I'm good at identifying what it is I like about music, saying, hey, I don't like this about that, but I do like that, and this is something that's wrong with it, and I can back it up musically. It doesn't matter. But this guy was playing this music, and I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And it wasn't the same old cookie cutter mold, like da ba ba ba. It was like it followed the same theme, the same flavor. It had the same coloring to it, the same color palette like you would think of with a painting. It just had some structural issues. You know, I could have gave him some pointers had I really invested my time. But what I'm getting at is this guy clearly was good at what he did. He clearly had a talent. Now, this is my talent. Is that I've absorbed a ton of knowledge, of vast amount of information and knowledge, an incredible, inordinate amount of information and knowledge. Ad nauseum. I'll just leave it at that. So that's my talent. That's what I'm good at, is taking a whole bunch of a body of knowledge, understanding it, boiling it down, and then being able to recreate the essence of it to someone else, such as you, or taking it and transforming it into my own thing, which is what I did here with 8019.1, which is always free on my channel, by the way. You need to keep that in mind. But this guy had a talent. It was clear to me he had a talent. So I told him, dude, what do YouTube? And he was like, I don't have a phone. And I'm thinking in my head, wow, okay, you don't have a phone. I went through the same thing, dude. I went through the same exact thing. When I first thought of doing the channel, I was in Longview, Texas. When I actually started making videos, which I regret admitting this and confessing this, but I waited until I went to Austin. I shouldn't have done that, but that's how it happened. That's how this worked. That's how this works. I deferred this idea. Stupid. Why? Because of my own bullcrap that I was telling myself. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. Stop deluding yourself, Tom. Just do it. Just take the step. Just do what you got to do. And I wouldn't have done it had I not dared to assume. But that's a perfect example. This guy was taking, if this is the only way that I can explain it, to make it make sense for the sake of what I'm getting at. This guy was taking a back seat. And when I say taking a back seat, I mean he wasn't getting active. He wasn't getting involved mentally. He was allowing this old programming to make him inactive, to let him take a step back and say, well, I don't have a phone. Well, just because you don't have a phone doesn't mean that you can't get a phone. Just because you don't have a phone doesn't mean that you can never have a phone. Believe that you'll get one. Dare to assume I'm going to get a phone, because that's what I did. I didn't make this mental conscious note. Okay, I'm daring to assume I'm going to get a phone. I'm going to go make the... No! I dared to assume that the channel was going to happen, and I had ascertained that a part of the necessities to make that happen was a phone. And instead of letting that faze me, I became undaunted to the fact and just allowed things to happen. Because that's all you really can do. Everything beyond you is outside of your control. But your thoughts are completely 100% in your control. And this guy was not enacting his right, his inalienable human right to enforce and to elect. He was forfeiting his right to having control over his own mental activity. And that's what I mean when I say he was taking a back seat. He was taking a back seat to something that was, you could frame as a bad situation. There's a disconnect. Not following his dream, not following this passion, not following a clear talent that he had. Because he had told me, he'd already played in venues before. He'd played with other bands before. But that's not going to get you anywhere unless that's, how that's the path that was going to get you there. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. That's how a lot of people make it, but that's not how everyone makes it. There are people that are on YouTube that, that's why this is such a big deal. That's why it's such a growing thing. Think about it. But what I'm saying is he's taking a back seat, which means he wasn't actively taking control of his own thoughts and his own feelings regarding the issue. And waiting for things to stop being bad. So they won't simply not cease to stop being bad, but they won't get any better. So it's not getting any better, but you can't say that it's not getting any worse, because it is getting worse, because it's not stop. You can't stop it from being bad, so it's getting worse because the bad isn't stopping. That's worse. If you can y'all get this? So in any case, I just want y'all to dare to assume that you're a person that's capable, that's worthy, that can do this, that can become involved, that can become engaged, like I made reference to in my video Christmas 22 that's called Doest Thou Assume. I was talking about Christ, and what I said is he's getting these people involved. He's getting them engaged. He's saying, you can't just let your thoughts run amok. You can't let your old programming run your life. That's what he was doing. And what by he, I mean your imagination. By he, I mean the power of your imagination. It's not a person. It's not a person. It's a power. It's a right. It's a capability. It's a function of yourself, of a human being. So, dare to assume. Take a first step. Comment in the comments below, because I've already had someone mention about how these videos have made a difference in their life. And man, that was so powerful to me. Excuse me. That made such an impact on me and made me so proud of them and so thankful for this opportunity to make a difference, because I'm making no illusions of grandeur here. I don't expect to. I don't have a fantasy of changing the whole world. I would rather have the opportunity to change the whole world, but what I'm essentially striving for is to make a difference in at least one person's life. The individual, because that's where it starts anyway. And that's where I'm saying, but it starts with the individual, but the individual has to start. So you may as well take the first step. Make a comment in the comments. Dare to assume that you're capable to do something outside of the traditional role of the consumer. Because if you're just simply watching my videos, I hate to say it, and I really do not mean to offend you by this, because I want you to come back. But I've got to say it. If you're just simply watching the videos, you're being the typical average consumer that everyone is being. Well, not everyone, but 80% of society is just being a consumer. And something that really turned my life around, that actually was a linchpin in my decision to make these videos in this channel to begin with a long time ago, is that I was watching this one video. And it kind of cropped up in the middle of me watching a lot of videos that were just kind of feel-good videos that were inspirational, and they were also motivational. But this one video cropped up in the middle of these, so it really stood out to me. But he was saying, you have taken in enough input. Where you're going wrong is that you're not making enough output. And that really struck a chord with me, and that really kind of struck deep in me and made a difference in my consciousness and my psyche, which I firmly believe wound up making a permanent mark on me, that wound up making an impact on my decision to make this channel in the long run years later. And that's what I'm going to say to you now in this video, for the sake of what I'm talking about, is that you just watching is not getting involved. It's not getting engaged. Having attention and awareness and observation, if you think about it logically, that is not taking action. You can see it very clearly when you start comparing the terms against each other, but if you don't get involved, you won't even see how these terms contradict each other, because you'll assume when I say getting involved or getting engaged, it's easy for the mind to go there because that's another excuse. A train of thought that's an excuse. And you don't want that for yourself. You want to be able to get involved. You want to be able to get engaged. And the best way to do that is to actually have some sort of material, some sort of output, something that you're producing. Because I don't expect anyone to actually give me feedback if I'm not making these videos. And that's what I'm requesting now. I'm saying if you want to take a little baby step in that, drop a line in the comments. Because that's another way that I started, is that I was watching YouTube, I was watching a lot of videos, I was watching a lot of different content. And at first I was just a mute spectator. And that's what I'm saying that you may possibly be guilty of doing now. And one of the first steps that I took was that I started making comments. I started speaking my mind, and then I realized, hey, I could do this without being a voice on someone else's issue. I could do this without someone else, them making a video and then me commenting on it. I could just make a video, and then I could have other people comment on my videos. Maybe, perhaps. Of course, I haven't had a lot of comments, but that's what I'm saying. Is that that's a very quick, easy way that you can start now. But it takes courage. It takes more. It takes courage and it takes guts. Inspiration and motivation is one thing. But you've got to have the guts. You've got to have the courage. And you will not have the guts. You will not have the courage if you don't dare to assume that you are. People, I guess they have this weird kind of strange fantasy that people that are courageous are born that way, or that they just come about it naturally or automatically or accidentally even. Wrong. False. They have changed the narrative in their heads. They have dared to assume that that's the person they are, even if they don't realize it consciously. So, taking a step back, using inaction, or being inactive and not involved and not engaged, and waiting for things to stop being bad it's a fool's errand. Not only they won't stop being bad, but it won't get any better. That's my point here. Thank you.